conversation around risk. Because I do believe that we are all in this space where it says, okay, what level of risk, first of all, what is risk? How do we assess it? And then what level should we be at? My goal is to make this a really concise discussion, but of course, make sure and put stuff in the comment section. You're able to do that. If you want to chat, you can put that on there as well. My big thing again is to know what level of risk are we at? Are we willing to do? And then how do we assess it? And then kind of like how are cities doing? Is your city a risky city, not a risk-averse city, and what are the implications of that? Those are the three areas that I kind of want to work in. So let's start with what level of risk I'm willing to do, and I think that's an important thing to kind of look at, which is, okay, am I a risky person? No, I am not a risky person. That's something I've been risk-averse in a lot of my life, so I'm learning and going through the process, the transition from being risk averse to being utilizing risk as a part of a strategy or risk as a part of what I need to get done to grow and be better and do better. And so for me, risk is a major part of my growth strategy. So I'm looking at what can I do and how can I make that happen. So I'm looking at things like, for example, this channel. This channel for me was a risk. Why? Because you're putting yourself out there and you're letting everybody see you. You're giving out opinions. You're opening yourself up to the idea that people will either support you or not, or listen to what you have to say or not, or just turn away and then not pay attention at all. When I first started videos, of course, my eyes were always like this, because I was outside and I was in the sun and didn't have any idea like what I was doing. So I'm growing that, I'm learning that. And each time there's a learning process. So when I'm thinking of that learning process, I'm thinking about any company, any organization, and you're like deciding, what do we do next? Do we do something that pushes the envelope, that is risky? And I'm like, yes, you can, but you need to know what level of risk you're willing to take. So that is knowing who your customers are, knowing who your stakeholders are, knowing who the people are that are investing in your company and where you're at. Startups tend to be pretty risky. Why? Because they're a startup. Their job as a startup is to come into a space, create a business that's maybe a disruptor, build that business and really grow it. And that is an important part of our economic ecosystem to have young, risky startups. Like that is a fantastic thing. In Norman, of course, we have incredible organizations. We have a university, we have students. And students, as young people, are also known to be a little more risky. In other words, they're willing to take a risk because they're young. They're able to do that. And then you have like mid-level companies. Mid-level companies either are pushing the envelope a little bit, but they're starting to grow quite a bit. So then at that point, they're starting to look at their futures and their legacy. So you see them back off that risk a little bit. They kind of step back and go, well, we don't know if we want to step out that far. So we're starting to kind of see a little bit of that startup feeling go away, and we're starting to become a mid-level company. Then you have some of the older companies that are legacy companies, and then the risk is much lower. The reason that is much lower is because these companies are large. They are behemoths, and they have a legacy and a history and a background. So if they step out and do something different, if they change what they've been doing for so long, that level of change scares people. That level of change scares investors. It scares what people know you as your brand and who you are. That if you change anything at all, immediately it sends a shockwave through people. If they're like, wait a minute, what are you doing? We've known you to be this way this whole time. And then after that, in the least risk averse areas, there are two groups. There are institutions, whether they be government institutions, higher ed institutions, or financial institutions that are risk averse. They are the slowest moving organizations, and we all don't believe it. We all think they move really fast. They move very, very slowly. They do not move very fast. Why? Because they have such large organizations, so many people that are bringing in their input, so many people that have opinions about what they're doing that it's difficult for them to move. Not all of them, I will say that, because I have seen some movement in some financial institutions, in some higher ed institutions, and other large organizations that are institutional that have maneuvered and changed some. So if that is you, good job, way to go, you're doing great. So if you're looking though for that idea, you have to do a couple things. These are things to help your institution go forward and build an ecosystem that helps you. You need to find your entrepreneurial spirit in your large institution. You need to grab that spirit, bring that spirit in, not as a threat, not as something that's going to be disruptive to your way of life, but it's going to integrate, change, and grow that. And for any example, if you want a great example of that, just look at what happened with artificial intelligence. It is literally, I believe, November of this year, it'll be 2 years since the first time we heard AI as a chat GPT kind of a way of looking at things. If you think about the sheer disruption in 2 years of that one model, it is absolutely stunning. It is stunning to think that that model has done that in that rapid of a pace. So again, institutions scared, everybody's getting scared. So you're grabbing those entrepreneurs. You're grabbing people like, what can we do with this? How can we make this work? How can we innovate? How can we create? So we're all in this like excitement, this energy, and this like craziness that we want to do. But okay, so you did that. So you've taken a risk. You've jumped out there, and then you have a result. How do you assess it? How do you assess that that risk works? Well, I love to use very basic things. I'm not about, miles and miles of charts. I like cost benefit analysis. I really do. I love it. I love cost benefit analysis. Straight up, what worked? What was my cost? What was my benefit? Was it worth it? Why? Because that answers that question very quickly. Was it worth it? If you spent too much money, didn't get the result you wanted, guess what? It wasn't worth it. Period. Now, if you want to be more nuanced and you want to go into bringing more people in, you can do SWOT analysis. You look at the strengths and the weaknesses of what you did. You looked at the threats and the opportunities for what you did. And then you look at all of that and aggregate that data and put it together and say, hey, does this work in the confines of our organization, our institution, our family, whatever we're doing, and say, how can we make this thing function? Now, SWOT analysis is more detailed and there's more to it. There's ways that you can like build goals, short-term, medium-term, long-term goals. All of this is a longer conversation. So if you would like me to either go over more on cost-benefit analysis, SWOT analysis, or look at the ways we can integrate the two into all that, you put it in the comments below, and I'll do a separate video on those specific things, and I can do like a workshop version of that and then get it to you and help you with your business and organization if that's what you're looking for. Then the kind of like my last piece of this, because again, I don't want to make it too long. I want you to have a nice little broken down, a quick little conversation starter so you can get that started in your business, organization, or family, or for self-improvement, or things that you need, is when we look at cities. So now I will spend a little bit more time on cities because I've gotten to see both sides of this. A city that is risk averse, a city that is not that is risky, and that ultimately is willing to take a risk. I've seen middle risky cities where they're like a little bit nervous, but they do it anyways. And I've seen like culturally where the risk is something that is embedded or risk averse is embedded. So let me give you examples of both. When I grew up in Altus area, Altus, Oklahoma. So if you don't know, Altus is a very rural town, about 25,000 people, around that now. It actually had a population decline because there's an Air Force base there. It was up and then it went down again, and honestly, it was a little bit jarring because the schools started to close. There used to be 7 elementaries, now it's on. So they did a lot of things, and you saw that population decline. And so it was very scary because, of course, this is my hometown. This is where I'm from. So I'm A-town for life. So yeah, I love Altus. So I was nervous. But then I saw a young group, Dean Johnson and some others that really started to build this young entrepreneurial thought where they either had gone to see other things, and started bringing it back and bringing it back and bringing it back. And Altus started to look at things and go, hey, wait a minute, maybe we can do something with this. And so they started to try things. And you know what? Some things worked and it worked well, and some things did not work and it did not work well. But you know what? They were willing to try. Then they started creating more spaces. They started to bring in younger business leaders. They started to do more events. They started to really get that chamber, Main Street, downtowners all working together. Then they started to look at the schools and said, you know what, we need a MAPS project. We need to get our schools up to where they were. They were excellent school systems, but they could be better. So they invested in schools. They also invested in, infrastructure by doing a MAPS project for the city. They got their parks up. They're doing a water park essentially in town. They're redoing our whole reservoir to where it is going to be a phenomenal space called the Altus Big. They have a new downtown park. They've got music there. It's all within that area. And I have watched my former quiet southwestern town that people don't even know is in Oklahoma. They think they're in Texas because they're so far southwest. And guess what? It is thriving. I'm watching new businesses open on a weekly basis, if not more. I said it is growing. There's excitement. There's a young group that's just excited to get in there. Companies are taking notice. People are taking notice. And they're just like watching this city grow and become progressive and really in its own way, in its rural way. So I'm very proud of Altus, Oklahoma. Now let's talk Oklahoma City for a minute. Oklahoma City, the history and legacy of Oklahoma City is very interesting. If you are from Oklahoma City, you know it. If you are not, I'm going to give it to you in a short and condensed form. Essentially what happened was United Airlines was supposed to come to Oklahoma City. United Airlines came into Oklahoma City. They looked at relocating and they looked at the city leaders and said, why in the hell would we bring our people here? There's nothing for them to do. And at that point, it was really ag-driven. Did not have the downtown stuff, the energy, the synergy. There was things going on and there were things happening, but the excitement level was different. And so the city fathers got together and they said, we need something big. We need something to jar people and kind of get their attention. And so they started the first MAPS projects. I believe there were 9. And so once those first MAPS projects started the Renaissance downtown, and they started building those projects and building those projects and building those projects. And remember, the first arena that they built was $89 million. It was paid off in a year. Why? Because they had concerts in it almost every day. And I said but that arena is an old school arena. It's old compared to what it was before. And so ultimately, the new one is going to be phenomenal. But as what we saw was Oklahoma City was willing to take a risk. They were willing to look at a street and say, you're going to be a river. They were willing to look at a ditch and saying, wait a minute, we're not going to mow you anymore. We're going to make you the rapids. And I said, you're going to do what? You're going to make rapids. And I will tell you that 2 weeks ago, they had literally kayak, canoe, and an Olympic trials on the very river that they mowed. So you have to talk about dreamers. You have to talk about the idea that they are willing to risk. You have to talk about the fact that these city leaders were like, you know what? Maybe our new energy is that we're going to try almost anything. Almost anything, we'll try it. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But at least we're giving it a shot. And you have seen what that does in Oklahoma City. Why? Because it is the 20th largest city. It is one of the fastest growing cities. Young people want to move there. Everybody wants to live in that area because of the fact that they're willing to do it. They're willing to try it. They're willing to go there. And so you have that. So you got, again, city that was on the throes of them people being passed over and now looking at it to the eyes of the world are now looking at this city going, what is going on there? To a point where we got to talk about it. The tower, legends, the 1907. It's going to be fascinating. I think it's odd too, but you know what? Why not? Oklahoma City has come to people and said, you know what? Build your dreams, bring it here, and let's see what we can do. And it has worked fantastic for them to do that. So I'm glad they're doing that. Now I live in Norman. So we're in this space. We are a very unique city in some ways, because we have a huge economic engine in our city, the University of Oklahoma. It's here. At the same time, we have a rural sensibility, but we are the third largest city in the state. What an interesting mix. So we have relied on the university to bring in either people, tourists, or whatever to come into our city. And so ultimately, we have gotten really comfortable asking a ton of questions because we're highly educated, mulling things over, thinking about things, taking some time to study it, taking some time to do everything. And by the time we get done assessing it, other cities already taken it because they're willing to jump at it. They're willing to take it quickly. So it is an interesting space that we're in that we need to be less analytical and jump and more a little risky to get the idea that other people will look at our city and say, hey, Norman is a city that can handle some risk. And that's what it is. It's, are we willing to handle some risk? And if we're not, we just need to say so. Yeah, we're not willing to do that. So if you want to try something innovative and creative and new, you need to go to Moore. You need to go to Oklahoma City. I mean, you need to go somewhere else because we're not going to do that. If we are, then we need to learn to be comfortable in risk. We need to learn that it's okay to feel uncomfortable. It's okay to not know whether something's going to work. It's okay to challenge our business community no matter where they're at and say, you know what? If we bring this business in here, it's going to challenge you to compete. It's going to challenge you to go ahead and push harder, build more community connections, do something different for your district, create that synergy, that energy, that identity, and make it happen and create that amazing opportunity for you to rebrand yourself because guess what? You have that now. Because we have people looking at us going, what are you going to do? What are we going to do? How are we going to do this together? So we have an opportunity. The opportunity is there. It is fantastic that this opportunity that we have in front of us. The question is, are we willing to do it? Are we willing to pull the trigger? Are we willing to push ourselves to that point where it's like, it's scary because we've always had it a certain way. We've always been a certain thing. We've always been identified this way. So how do we marry the identity but the risk and say, hey, we can be a risky city and not lose ourselves completely. Maybe there's a better version of us out there. So let's try and create the better version of us. Let's push our boundaries a little bit. Let's push ourselves out there and say, hey, we're willing for you to bring a company in that maybe we didn't think about. Let's try that. Maybe it's a disruptor situation. Maybe it's an AI company that we're going to come on in. We've never had that thought before. And I do know there are projects that are coming that are very much risky and going to be fantastic. And I know the city's nervous. I know there is straight up nervousness about what is happening in Norman. Because we're going to grow, and we're going to grow fast, and people are not ready for that. But here we are. And yet, it's okay. I think it's okay for us to be nervous. It's okay for us to be a little concerned and a little worried. I think we can make decisions because we're very smart. We've got the education. We've got the brain trust. We've got the resources. We have the infrastructure. We have everything that we need to create the synergy and the excitement that we need. We just have to say, yes, we want to do it. Yes, we want to go there. Yes, we want to be growing. Yes, we want people to come here, move here, and spend their life here. Because guess what? We know we're an amazing city. If you don't know it, just come and visit. Just come and visit Norman. You will see it. We are an incredible city. We're an incredible people. We are fantastic. It's an incredible time to visit. It's super cool. So it is very important, though, we all are willing to take a level of risk. So the question I leave you is this. What level of risk are you willing to take? How far are you willing to go to get the things that you want, the dreams that you want? There are several ways that I can help you. One, you can watch this. Two, I have a channel that is Life in Business. Life in Business is really a self-help channel. It works with your business, you as a human being, and growing and dreaming and achieving and all the things that you need. Watch that channel. Do those things and build those things, and we will build things together. If you would like more on this, please check out My Life in Business, which will be up here. I'm going to put it up here. You'll have an opportunity to see that. Also, subscribe to my network. The biggest thing you can do, it'll be down there at the end, is to go ahead and hit that button, subscribe. Make sure that you're on my list. You're getting this. You can put this in your offices. You can play this for your 20 minutes and have those conversations with your staff. You can play this with your family, your spouse, your adult children, and all of that. Also, I want to let you know, as a little kind of secret thing, this summer my plan is to do a couple of 2-hour sessions. I don't know how they're going to be design classes. I'll have to look at that and see how that works and functions for students that are about to go into college in the fall. So if you have a young person that's in age of 18, 17, 18, going into the university in the fall, any university nationwide, I'm going to go ahead and do some courses, like 2-hour courses, maybe once a month for the next couple of months. And it will be how to prepare for college, what you need to know that maybe you didn't get when you're in high school, because we have great preparation, but we forget some of the basic skills that need to happen. I want to make sure that's happening, that you are aware that there, and I've done this for 2010. So last 14 years, I work with students in transition to get them from a high school mindset to a collegiate mindset and getting them ready to do well and excel at the college level, the university level. So my goal is to do that this summer, get students ready before they're getting ready to head to their campuses in August. And it will be very much a good workshop version of what they need to know. So we won't do so much life development. We might do that separately in a different way. Because if I want to teach them how to be an adult, priorities, some other things like that, stress management and some things like that, I can do that. But those are separate courses that I want to do. So I have a lot coming up. It's an exciting time for me. I've got growth opportunities for everybody. I can do business workshops on here that I can just give away. I think that's important to me to do that. So this is all free content for you to just have. I do this because it's important to me that you think about risk and that you think about your business and that you're growing, because no matter where you are in the country or the world, I think that's important. I think you should look around your communities, find out whether they're risky or risk averse, and also kind of like the environment you're in. So hopefully this has been helpful. I thank you for watching. It is about 23 minutes long, and so this will be a helpful thing for you. And again, I can break this up later on into 1-minute increments. So thank you, and I appreciate you, and have a great day.